Welcome to the Lock Shop with Nielson and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
Well, what's going on, everybody? Dustin Huss with you here on the Lock Shop on Edmonton Sports Talk. Thank you very much for tuning in on TuneIn, iHeart, EdmontonSportsTalk.com. If you're listening to the podcast after the fact, maybe you don't even know that we're live, but we are live every single day at 11 o'clock right here on EST. If you're watching over on YouTube, hammer a thumbs up for us. And if you want to chime in with your favorite plays of the night in the National Hockey League, you can do that as well. I see Jen over there saying, sorry for your loss, Huss. Huss? That's the only place to start last night. It just seemed like it wasn't meant. When Pionk, I'm watching along. When Pionk puts that one in the net, I'm just like, this is just not meant to be, man. This is not meant to be.
Yeah, our old pal Neil Pionk. He that was a bit of an encapsulation of his last couple of years, really, in Winnipeg. The guy has kind of turned into an accident waiting to happen. You know, those kids, that always seem to be getting in trouble or messing up. They're well-intentioned, but they have issues in many different areas. That's our pal Pionk. And to be honest, he had just a miserable second period. He was the one that lost Trennan behind the net and essentially allowed him a point-blank shot on Connor Hellebuck. I think he basically was in the blue paint when they came around the net. So, yeah, the Jets got one in weird fashion to begin, and that was, the soccer folks call that the own goal.
Yes.
But listen, at the end of it all, this was not close.
Was it as bad as it looks, us? Like, I see twice as many goals against in the playoffs as the regular season, fourth worst goals against in playoff series. Like, was it that bad? I watched like probably 30% of the series. So was it that bad?
Yeah, it was. It was. There's no way around it. Listen, the Jets had a great season. They won 52 games. They finished second in the West. They did a lot of great things and a lot of things that needed to happen for the team and the organization to sort of move past, the Wheeler era, if you will. But when it came to the playoffs, like, they weren't even close to their best, never mind raising their level of play, one or two. And the Avalanche, I can't say enough about that team, dude. They outplayed the Jets. They out-executed the Jets. They out-coached the Jets. They just did everything better. And their speed, like when they're playing as tenacious as they were against the Winnipeg Jets, with that speed, if you're turning the puck over the way that the Jets were, it can end up back in your net very, very quickly. And we saw that, throughout the series right now. So, the next couple days are going to be really interesting. Tomorrow's going to be garbage bag day where we'll hear from the players. We'll hear from the coach and general manager on Friday. Because I think for all the good that happened this year with the Jets, there still is some pretty significant questions about, is this the right mix? Is this a team that will be able to take that next step? Are they on the right path? Listen, I think Cheveldayoff did a good job. The deadline acquisition of Tyler Toffoli didn't really, create much for Winnipeg. Couple moments in the regular season, scored last night to get to tie it up last night, which was a nice goal, but there wasn't very much of that. The Monahan ad was great in the fact that it was a month early, completely turned around their power play.
Help get them going, right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But I think when you look at this team moving forward, and most of the forwards are signed for next year, big questions as to, who's going to stick around, who they might want to think about moving. But bringing it back to Pionk, in a lot of ways, I think this really does start with the blue line. If you compare the Jets today from the 2018 team that went to the conference finals, that's the biggest difference, in my opinion. I mean, back then they had Buff, they had Trouba, they had Myers all on the right side. They had as good of a right side as any team in the National Hockey League. And, right now, they're doing it with Dylan DeMello and listen, he was plus 45. He had a really strong season, didn't have a great series. And then you had Neil Pionk, who, as I said, is just an accident waiting to happen. And then a mix of guys on that fourth line. So they've got a lot of really talented prospects and young players that seemingly are ready. The Jets notoriously keep those guys off the team longer than many others do. We'll see whether that philosophy changes, but there'll be a lot of introspection in the peg for the Jets, because it was a really promising season. The series started with a bang, and that 7-6 win. And then the Jets simply had absolutely no answers. And if you really go back and watch the games, I mean, it was all Colorado. It was a white knuckle ride, and they were just hanging on, and they were only able to hang on for 5 games before they got thrown off like one of those mechanical bulls you get on down in Big.
I used to have a mechanical bull at the country bar here in town, Cook County. And one of my buddies busted his sternum on there one time. Came off. We kind of sewered him. We paid the guy to spin him a little bit faster. He got bucked off the back of it, went up, bounced off the mat, then bounced up again down onto the hard floor. Got up, was like, having a little bit of trouble breathing. He was walking a little awkwardly. And then the best part of the story is he had to go back home to Lethbridge the next day, and he had to move his house over the next 2 days. And he didn't want to tell his wife that he broke his sternum riding or he didn't want to tell her he was injured. So he's just like toughed it out. Then he went to the doctor on like Wednesday, and the doctor's like, yeah, you got a little bit of a fractured sternum here. How'd that happen? He's like, I was riding a mechanical bull. So needless to say, he hasn't been allowed to come back to Edmonton since then. That was his last trip up here. So everybody's always afraid when their husbands come and visit me. And I guess that's one of the reasons why. But whatever. I mean, what are you going to do? So we were asked today on our show, Huss, about the Jets. And like, if we were in charge of the Jets, what would you do? And I was like, man, I don't know. Like, I like their team. They've got good young pieces coming. We asked Wyshynski this today when he was on, and he said, the one thing that could happen would be the coaching change. If you were a betting man, and here in the lock shop we are, what are the odds on new coach behind the bench for next year for the Jets?
Well, it's a unique situation because Bones was on a 2-year deal. He has missed significant time in both seasons. Once obviously not him, but indirectly, obviously his wife needed some time, and he was family first, and the Jets certainly took care of him for that. I was asked this a couple times yesterday at the game by folks. Moving forward, do you think Bones will be back? And I thought that it was close to. It really is sort of 50-50, I think. And I maybe leaned a little bit more on the no. Although, and we'll be talking about this extensively today on WST, when we heard Bones talk after the game, it certainly didn't sound like a guy that was ready to call it quits. And I mean, as I say, it's very, everything's so raw. You just got basically, swept out after winning one game against a great Colorado team. So it doesn't feel like it was a great season. But when you look back, I mean, Bones turned this team into the best defensive team in the NHL, and they won 52 games and were second in the West. I mean, there was a lot of things that happened that were really positive this year on his watch. So Cheveldayoff is notoriously tight with his line of thinking and where things going. Ask me that next week, and I think I'll have a little bit better of an idea after hearing both of them speak on Friday. But as I say, part of me thought that Bones might just say, you know what, I'm done. I was thinking about retiring already. I'm proud of the work that I've done here in Winnipeg, and now it's time to sort of, to move forward. And whether this was just the competitor right after the game or what, it didn't sound like that was somewhat coming. So if that's the case, then there's some pretty significant choices and decisions for the Jets to make.
Cowboy over in the Nasty Chat says, Bones still loves the game too much. So, yeah, there'd be a decision that have to be made here for the Winnipeg Jets, for sure.
Yeah. Like the one issue is, like, I have a hard time wrapping my head around how moving forward this team is going to be even better. Like, I mean, one of the knocks on Bones is that come playoff time, there's some coaches that were really able to get their teams to another level. And I guess he did take Dallas to the Cup final in the bubble. But he wasn't around long after that. So he's beloved here. He did a really, really good job. I mean, the organization loves him. Is it the best move for the team going forward? I don't know about that, but I think it probably is going to end up being quite a bit of his decision. I would be surprised after the year that he had and the team had, at least in the regular season, that what happened over the course of the past 8 days or whatever would completely change their direction. So going to give us lots to talk about on WST. I thought this might be a little quieter off season than last year. Well, last year was the Dubois off season, so I don't know. We probably won't get another gift like that, but there's plenty of questions about the Jets moving forward.
All right. One other thing. Let me just quickly lay out the lock shop for you today. Of course, we have Oil Stream coming up here at noon on Edmonton Sports Talk. Pat Gregoire, P. Greggy, going to swing by here in about 15 minutes. We'll take a look at the CJ Cup. This is a golf show, so we'll give you some golf picks a little bit later on. Not a great film, but there's some names there, so we'll get into that coming up. We will also set up the slate tonight. 2 games, EST parlay. I don't know if it's up yet. Should be up soon if it isn't already. We'll get into the Oilers and Kings. We'll get into the Golden Knights and Stars. But us continuing with the NHL last night. Toronto Maple Leafs screwing us. We had the Boston Bruins last night on the parlay, and give the Toronto Maple Leafs credit. I did not see a world where the Leafs grind out a 2-1 victory the way they did last night. Did not have that one coming.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I didn't see a lot of the game for obvious reasons, being downtown in Winnipeg, focusing on the Jets. But I did catch, the earlier portion of the game, and listen, that was a gutsy win by Toronto. And a lot of people were questioning how much guts that team actually had after the first 3 games of the series. And the fact that they did it without Austin Matthews is frankly even more incredible because of how dependent they were on him all year long. And how about that for changing the narrative too, Dusty? Like, it's going from all the Leafs are done, Boston's rolling over them again, to all of a sudden, remember what happened last year? Boston blowing the 3-1 lead?
Yeah, I was trying to figure out if that's like, if it's good and Boston gets a message and they won't let it happen again, or is that Boston group actually kind of weak and they could collapse again? I mean, last year they were all-time good in the regular season. They were still very good this year, not taking anything away from them. But I couldn't figure out today. It came up on our show this morning. I was like, I don't know if this is a good thing or bad thing that they did it last year. I mean, how many teams are going to blow 3-1s back-to-back years? You usually learn that lesson.
Well, yeah. And which is why it would be such a disaster for Boston to do that. And it's got to be something that's on their minds. We'll see what the Leafs are like back at home. I mean, with a little bit more pressure, although they've earned an opportunity to keep on playing. And I know they'll want to be much better at home than they were in games 3 and 4. I saw Jake last night on Twitter, who was already on to baseball season, and then it pulled him right back in.
I just saw him losing it. It was in silent, though. I was in bed, and I just saw him, like, it was funny when I didn't hear him. He's just like, I'm like, oh, Jake's going at her tonight. I love it. That's too good. So, yeah, we'll see. I mean, who do you give a better shot to, Toronto or Nashville? Both of them down 3-2. Both of them staying alive last night. Who do you think has a better chance to pull off the 3-1 comeback?
Oh, great question. I think I'd have to say Nashville just because of the goaltending situation.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Well, let's see what they have to say, what the odds makers have to say. Oh, the exact same series line on both. Bruins and Canucks minus 345, Leafs and Predators plus 270. So we didn't get any insight as to what the guys at Coolbet think. Listen, coming back from 3-1 is really, really tough. It seems to happen a little bit more in hockey than it does in the NBA. Although a couple teams with big wins, I didn't quite catch that parlay yet last night. I guess we can get to that a little bit later on. Pacers and Knicks both losing.
Yeah, the Pacers losing. Did you see the stat on the Bucks? First team in NBA playoff history to win a game in the playoffs with their 2 leading scorers not on the roster. First time that's ever happened in NBA history. When I saw it last night, I was like, that's insane. But they did it last night. Portis had a great game. Like, I thought for sure they'd be in trouble. I love the Pacers last night in that one. So impressive stuff there. And then the Sixers-Knicks game, I was around it a little bit. I wasn't watching it all the entire time. But phenomenal finish to that basketball game last night. That's becoming a pretty good series, man. Dirty, greasy Philly, New York series. Like, I'm loving it.
No doubt. What's the word around Edmonton? Is it closing time tonight for the Oil?
I think it's closing time tonight. We got the EST parlay. It's already up. It's plus 375. Let me quickly give you that as we transition over to this Oilers game here tonight. McDavid, 2+ points. Funny story on that in a second. We'll go there. McDavid, 2+ points. Hyman with a goal. Bouchard with a point. Oilers win plus 375. That is available right now in the exclusive section over at Coolbet. If you've not yet signed up for an account at Coolbet, I mean, if you're watching or listening to Lock Shop, you probably have an account, but if you don't, sign up. You can bet $1, you can bet 20. It doesn't matter. You can, whatever you're comfortable with, stay cool, bet responsibly at Coolbet. When you sign up, use the code LOCKSHOP. You get a 100% deposit bonus on your initial deposit up to $200. McDavid, 2 points. Hyman with a goal. Bouchard with a point. And the Oilers to win tonight. So we were looking at this morning, and the number hadn't been released yet on McDavid over 1.5 points tonight. So, well, it's coming back around here. I'm gonna hop on this right now because I don't know where it's gonna go from here. But we had it this morning at minus 101. McDavid over 1.5 points, and I was just like, minus 101. This is amazing. And then like 5 minutes later, we played like the playoff song. Somebody comes in and goes, Dusty, that's minus 140 now. I was like, what? It went from minus 101 to minus 140. So I went and looked at the incoming bets, and it was just Edmonton. And people were just hammering Connor McDavid over 1.5 points. So it went from minus 101 to minus 140 in like a matter of 5 minutes. It's settled in right now at minus 124, which is the best that I've seen it in the last 2 hours. So I'm going to hop on McDavid here over 1.5 points tonight at minus 124. I don't know. How much do we read into the Kings last game at home, holding the Oilers to 13 shots, and they still lost? Like, I just don't see the Oilers coming out with that type of performance here at home with a chance to finish it off and get a couple of days rest, especially if Nashville and Vancouver ends up going 7. I mean, this could be big for both Colorado and Edmonton in the long-term push to a Stanley Cup. So, big game tonight. I think McDavid and the Oilers finish this thing off. I was trying to, like we were talking about this morning, what type of game do I see? And it all comes down to the way it's officiated. Like last game, you could get away with anything. There was one power play on each side. That was it. Probably could have been 3 or 4 each way. They just were like, interference didn't exist in that last game. If they call penalties tonight, I think the Oilers win by 2 or 3 goals. If the whistles are put away tonight, probably going to have to squeak one out. So it's tough when your vibe is based around whatever the group of officials on the ice that night are going to call and not call. But I think no matter what way it goes, they end up winning here. And the money line right now is minus 196.
Yeah, I see Jake in chat. Huss has no belief. That's not necessarily true, Jake. Now,
I have no belief. I'll say it. I'll take that one.
The happiest guy, because I do have a 3-series parlay that 2 of them are in, needing Toronto, and I'd sort of mentally written that off, as I'm sure you did as well, wrote the series off. But hey, they're back. You get that win in Game 6 at home, all the pressure is then on the Boston Bruins, considering what happened the year before. So, listen, great win for the Leafs. I'm fired up to see what happens coming up in the next couple days when they get back at it. The other thing that we've got tonight, I mean, listen, I as far as the Edmonton Oilers and the Kings go, I'm sort of with you. Was just listening to what's the guy, West Coast Hockey? He was on this morning with the guy filling in for Merrick, and was just talking about how their big acquisitions, Kevin Fiala and Dubois, have done absolutely nothing in this series. And Byfield only has 1 goal in his last 20. He's kind of hit a wall after a great season. They're really being, carried by Kempe and Kopitar still at this point. but he said the Dubois situation and the way things have got has sort of overshadowed everything. And if the Oilers are able to bounce the Kings tonight, those end of season, like I think we're going to see here a really disappointed Jets team, just, feeling good about what they did, but, disappointed that they weren't able to really, go toe to toe and hang with the Avalanche. What comes out of the Kings organization, dressing room at the end of that season is going to be wild. And I think they still do have time to trade Dubois before the no trade kicks in.
But who in their mind would do that, though, right?
Well, I mean, there was the talk about Boston.
Oh, yeah, and the goalie discussion there. That's right, but it was denied by the goaltender, right?
Yeah.
Was it? Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of people throughout the season I kept on seeing on my timeline, what the buyout would be for Dubois. So can you imagine that? Buying a guy out 1 year into an 8-year extension? But because he's under 25, I guess, or under 26, it would be the 1/3 buyout as opposed to the 2/3. So it's not entirely out of the question, but I don't know. I'll be paying attention to see if 80 does anything tonight. What I am really looking forward to, though, is Game 5 between Vegas and Dallas today. And by the way, Aiden Hill in net.
I just was going to say, I said, that's the storyline here. The Vegas Golden Knights, after dropping 2 at home, have decided to go to Aiden Hill. I know he was amazing last year in the playoffs, but he has had a sub-900 save percentage for the last 2 months. My initial thought on this, Huss, is I don't like it, but do you think it's something they had to do? What do you think?
No, I don't think they had to do it at all. I think it's listen, Thompson has had a few moments that weren't great, but overall, I think he's been strong. I mean, like Dallas has been turning the puck over. They've been getting some really good chances on it, and he's done so well. Listen, the guy did win him a cup last year, and he did come on in a similar circumstance, not being the starter at the beginning of the season. And I'll say this about Cassidy. I mean, he doesn't mind making bold decisions. I mean, they had Anthony Mantha, who they traded for, second-round pick. He was not even dressed for the game last night. I mean, other teams, like you could have certainly made the argument that Tyler Toffoli. Now, the thing is, with some guys getting injured, they didn't really have anyone else to really stick in ahead of him. They did move him down to the 4th line last night. But I was surprised. I will say that. I was not expecting to hear that. And this game tonight, with Dallas minus 153 on the money line, Vegas plus 130, that number's sort of getting bigger for Dallas each game throughout the series. And they've got all the momentum coming back, and I guess they think that Aiden Hill might be the guy that can stop the bleeding.
Yeah, I mean, the last time I saw Aiden Hill, it was against the Oilers, and he looked like a guy who should be a 4th-string goaltender in the National Hockey League, like he was for a long time. So we'll see. I mean, he had that playoff magic in the past. Saw this pop up on Twitter a few moments ago, about an hour ago, I guess now. Logan Thompson, who they are taking out for this game tonight, has the 2nd-best goals saved above expected so far this postseason. So he has done yeoman's work between the pipes so far in this series. I mean, if not for Thompson, a few of these games would have been much more in control of the Dallas Stars. So I don't know. This surprises me a little bit. We'll see if it plays out. But the Aiden Hill that we saw for the last 2 months ain't saving this series for the Vegas Golden Knights, if you need to view it that way, that it does need to be saved. All right, Pat Gregoire. So what's the play tonight, Huss? Are you okay with the minus 153?
Yeah. You know what? I'm just looking at this right now with only 2 games. Might be a real simple home team parlay. Dallas, Edmonton, money line, plus 150.
Yeah, I think that's probably the easy play there tonight in the National Hockey League. All right, P. Greggy, back from the Zurich Classic, has to get back to work this week. Tough life you're living, Patty. Thanks for the invite.
Nola was great, man. Nola was just as you would expect Nola to be. A lot of hurricanes.
You guys spend on Bourbon Street.
Way too much.
Did you make a reservation for Super Bowl next year for the lock shop?
Oh, wait. If we're welcome back in the city of New Orleans, we'll be there. But no, in all honesty, it sucked. It sucked not having you guys there. It was an awesome trip. The fellows had a really good time. The Zurich is an awesome event. I know it's not really the sexiest event when you look at the schedule on the PGA Tour, but the event itself, they do such a good job. The food is phenomenal. Just the viewing experience is great. The golf course is pretty unique, and the fact you get to see match play, I think it's pretty cool. Taylor Pendrith and Corey Connors had a great showing. We followed them for quite some time on Thursday. I think it was a really smart play by Taylor and Corey to team up. And I know Taylor hasn't had the hottest of starts to his season, but we saw he was on the President's Cup a couple of years ago. If him and Connors can play like that, I think Mike Weir might have a hard time keeping old TP away from Team International as one of the alternatives. But no, it was great. And in terms of Super Bowl, we'll be back. We just couldn't have you two away from your cities during the playoffs. Although Huss,
yeah, that's a good point.
Man, oh man,
careful what you say,
man.
Patty. I was gonna say.
No. I trust me, glass house, 100%. I'm just gonna say, you sold me. You sold me on the Jets at the start of that series. I was drinking the Kool-Aid. I bet them. I actually bet them to win the cup beforehand. I told you, I bet them to win that series. But hand up. Credit where credit's due. There's no excuses there. You guys have owned it. That's just a better hockey team playing as good as they could. And the Jets were just outclassed in every facet. Yeah. It's more of it's I get it. You know, the head-to-head matchup throughout the year, the writing was on the wall there in terms of which way to lean. But I just think this is a Avalanche team that has flipped the switch when it matters the most. And now I'm starting to think, holy crap, this team, it absolutely could hoist the cup again. They're a well-oiled machine. I don't care if it's the Winnipeg Jets or who they're playing. They're gonna be a tough out whoever they play. That is a really good hockey team.
And listen to this. I mean, by dispatching Winnipeg as quickly as they did, they're gonna sit back and watch Dallas and Vegas beat the piss out of each other for 6 or probably 7 games.
7, I think.
And you know what? I was thinking about this last night after the game. Dusty, remember it was a Hockey Night in Canada game a couple months ago between Edmonton and Colorado. That game, I believe it was in Edmonton.
Went to overtime.
And it was one of the most incredible games. I mean, the pace of that game, I just remember, it stands out to me amongst just about everything I saw in the regular season, just how great that game was. I got thinking about what 7 games would look like of that, and I'll tell you what, the second round, we talked about the group of death in the Central Division with Vegas moving over. I mean, nothing's going to be guaranteed. We'll see what happens as to who wins between Dallas and Vegas and what the odds are. If Colorado can get past that and the Oilers can get past that, we are going to be in for a legendary conference final between some of the greatest players of this generation going head to head. I can tell you, I'm pulling for that. You know, like when you lose it to a team or you play them, you know, often you really just hate them. Like you want them to lose. You want the worst thing. Like there's not really any of that with Colorado. You just sit back and tip your hat and realize that Cale Makar is on a whole nother level than everybody else. Nate McKinnon, Rantanen woke up last night. I mean, he'd been coming back. He really hadn't done much. He was the difference maker with the 2 third-period goals that busted the 3-3 tie. You know, for the good of the sport, we need Edmonton, Colorado in the conference final. McKinnon, McDavid, head-to-head. Winner goes to the cup. I can tell you that's what I'm pulling for. And I'm sure once we get through these rounds, I'll be making a wager that indicates.
Got it a couple of years ago, and it did not go in the Oilers' favor. But I think I'm not going to say the end result will end up being different, but it'll be a hell of a lot more competitive series than it was a couple of years ago. Patty, Toronto Maple Leafs. I mean, we could have got Jake on today, and he could have just been yelling at us for 10 minutes. But you know, we're going to talk some golf with you too. But what's the vibe out in the 6 right now?
I mean, the vibes are back, man. Like everyone's back in, and shame on us for doing it. I'm such an unbelievable coward. I'm such an unbelievable coward. You know, telling my fiance, like, yeah, like she's like, we got to get back. I know you want to watch the game. We were out running errands or whatever. I'm downplaying it. Like, if I miss the first couple of minutes, it's fine. The series is over, and then the game starts and they start competing. They start on time. They get the game's first goal. Boston scores a back-breaking goal to end that first period, but they don't give up. No Austin Matthews in the lineup. No problem. They play great without him. Mitch Marner has a pulse out of nowhere. He's starting to win puck battles. Matthew Nyes scores a huge goal. Even before that, Matthew Nyes stepping in for his teammates and telling Pasternak, laughing at him, saying, go me. You want to go him? No. You got to go at me. I'm back in. And I know this is going to just be so much worse. It's so much easier when you just give up and say, same old Leafs. Let's start from scratch. Let's fire everyone. Let's go scorched earth, baby. But let's be honest. This is my delusional Leaf fan. I do think that there's a good chance that they win Game 6, although they've been awful at home in the Sheldon Keefe era, not even just as of late. They've really struggled in the playoffs at home. I think they win 6, and then I think we just get our hearts ripped right out of our chest with a back-breaking, soul-crushing loss in Boston. Joseph Wool, though, man, like he was a difference maker last night. If Samsonov's in that net, that's like a 4-1 game. And Samsonov hasn't even really played that bad this series. He just lets 1 or 2 goals where you shake your head. And in the postseason, as you guys know, hell, you had Connor Hellebuck, who wasn't even bad, but he wasn't sensational in some of those games. Goaltending just means so much in the postseason. And if you don't have phenomenal goaltending, you have no shot in hell in winning. And I think Boston,
you got to give your guy a chance.
Yes.
I don't think the Jets did. And you know what the Leafs did last night? They they battened it down. They did everything they could to help their goaltender. They waited it out. And they found a way to get a goal when they needed it.
Yeah.
But okay, what is everyone saying about Matthews?
Yeah.
Like, what was your feed like when you found out that he wasn't playing? I mean, I know it's got to be something serious if he's missing playoff games, but just the way that it's put out, and this started with the Nylander stuff at the beginning of the series, like it's literally raising questions about these guys. I think unnecessarily in the market.
It's so funny because Sheldon Keefe came out and at the start of the series and was like, we're not disclosing any information about injuries. William Nylander's dealing with something. And when we can give you information, we'll give you information. We're not going to say anything. And then this Austin Matthews thing's come, and then it's this, well detailed talking about his illness, and he contracted something earlier, and the doctors are the ones who pulled him in the third period. And it's like, I thought we weren't giving out details, Sheldon. So it's like, clearly there's something more than just this illness. And I think they're using this illness as a front. He did take a huge tumble. I think it was in game 81, crashed right into the boards. I'm wondering if he is probably sick and does have the flu, but maybe they're using this to mask what else is going on. Because let's be honest, unless he was watching from his deathbed yesterday, there's no reason 34 should not be in that lineup if it's just ill. Before, we've heard about the flu game before. We've heard stories of guys that there's no way they should have been playing, whether it's injuries, sickness, whatever it may be.
Be more than that.
It has to be more.
Keeping him.
And they're just using this illness as a front. God forbid. I hope it's not a serious illness and we're not dealing with something really serious. And hopefully it is something like an injury that they're just using him being sick as a front, and they're just giving him some time to get healthy. Because let's be honest, I know in the series he only has that one goal, but game 1, game 2, he was still one of, if not the best player on the ice. Since game 3, 4, you could see there was an absolute difference in his game. There's a shot of him on the bench where they found where he's talking to the trainer, and he says, I just can't skate. I physically can't skate. So a lot of people are wondering, like, okay, is that an injury, or is it like he's so sick he can't really move around? It's more than a sickness. It's something is up. And Toronto tried to be this ironclad, nothing's coming out, and it's completely backfired in their face. I totally agree. It's caused more of a circus than anything. If they were honest with William Nylander saying he's dealing with migraines that are so bad we thought he had a concussion. He's dealing with concussion-like symptoms. If they were honest with Austin Matthews and say he's dealing with lingering issues, there's not this absolute madness circus. You guys know the Toronto media is a big enough of a circus. Never mind putting all this uncertainty and people digging for questions. It's just caused a distraction that really hasn't need to happen. But if he's in the lineup come game 6, I think all those questions go away. And then it's a prove it spot for this group that every time there has been a prove it spot, except for game 7 last year against the Bolts, they've kind of fallen flat on their faces. Here's another prove it spot. You have another chance to live another day. They accepted the challenge yesterday. We'll see if they accept the challenge game 6 at home and they don't, really come out flat. I think it's so cliche, guys, but starting on time in that building with all the pressure, with all the demons is so important. It is so important that they don't come out flat. It really is. They got to come out flying.
Yeah, you can't do that in a game 6. Hey, by the way, thanks to Jake for making note of this. It was funny. I was putting in the 2 home teams at plus 150. It actually, while I had it up, the Oiler line moved and it went down to plus 145. But Jake let us know in the Coolbet NHL Daily exclusives, the hometown heater, Stars and Oilers both to win, actually boosted to plus 170. So a much better number in the exclusives.
Yeah, he didn't let all of us know quick enough. I got in at plus 150. So I literally hit it at plus 150, then turned to look at my other screen and saw Jake say, "Hey, it's boosted to plus 170 on the exclusives." Damn it. This is a message though. Check your exclusives before you go and put together any of these parlays. Patty, any thoughts on Dallas, Vegas tonight, or Edmonton and the Kings?
I'm kind of on the same path as you guys. I really am. I do think that this Dallas series does go the distance, but I just kind of give the tie to Dallas here, and the goaltending situation obviously as well. And I do think that the Kings are they're punching above their weight. I think you broke it down perfectly, Dusty. If the whistles do go away, maybe they might be able to hang around, but the officiating is another story for another day. It feels so inconsistent from game to game. Guys are getting away with murder and water skiing on the back of guys.
Of somebody else for something else. It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. So I think that will play a lot. If it's called tight, Edmonton, I would be thinking Edmonton puck line here. But if the whistles go away, the Kings will find a way to make it gross and grind it out. So, but yeah, I think that hometown heater, I think Jake said it's called, that's probably what I'm going to lean with. And obviously a Zach Hyman goal, because that is probably one of your best financial plans you can do as a citizen in 2024 right now. That and Valeri Nichushkin. I have been hammering Nichushkin goals, man, through that series. He was an absolute beast. And I'm sorry to bring that up again.
I just
but he's a monster. He's a monster. Absolute monster.
I don't need this right now.
The Hyman goal might be a little tease for the Lock Shop play of the day coming up a little bit later on here as well. You find that on all of your Coolbet socials. Slide over and talk some golf here, boys. We got about 10 minutes before Huss has to slide away. Where's the head at here for the CJ Cup, boys?
It's not too into the CJ Cup. Like, as you'll go through the entire PGA schedule this year, and I'm not sure at any point other than secondary events will we see maybe a more underwhelming group of individuals here. None of the big guys are playing. It's not, well, I shouldn't say that. Jordan Spieth's there.
Spieth is there.
Jason Day are your top 2 picks. And Siwoo Kim as well. I don't know. I think I'm going to lean like, CJ is the big Korean company that sponsors Siwoo Kim. I think Benny On's got a sponsorship with them. Sung JM as well. I don't know whether maybe that's the angle right now because, well, Patty, you tee this up. I mean, where you're starting off right now, you're coming off seeing a number of these players playing in the Zurich Classic. What, who's got your eye for this one? I do think I'm going to spend a little more time with a few longer shots in an event like this. I just feel like it's wide open. Kind of reminds me of the beginning of the PGA Tour season.
Yeah, you kind of took the words right out of my mouth. I think the guys near the top, obviously you could look to a guy like Jason Day, whose form has been okay. Jordan Spieth, I mean, he's as hit as miss comes. Like, I almost am considering sprinkling for him to miss the cut because at this point, it's like you just don't know what you could get. He could win this tournament. He could also miss the cut completely. So I do agree where my bets start, and you already said his name, and you kind of already went into the way I'm thinking as well. Another CJ Cup athlete, Benny On. And one of the things with this golf course, it is an easier course. So it's going to be a birdie fest. And Benny On ranks number 1 in birdies or better gained and 4th in opportunities gained in this entire field. His off the tee numbers are great. 3rd in driving distance, while also being ranked inside the top 20 of strokes gained off the tee. His putter is definitely a cause for concern at this golf course, but the golf course, it's not the most penile around the greens, and the greens itself are a little more forgiving, I should say. He's had some great finishes already this year. He had a T16 at the Masters where he actually, and this is wild, I saw this stat get thrown out there. He gained 9.16 strokes gained from tee to green at Augusta. That was second to only Scotty Scheffler. So that's remarkable numbers right there. He also finished T8 at the API, which I think we can confidently say Augusta and the Arnold Palmer Invitational have much better fields than this. So he's proven he can hang in big fields. There's no reason why he can't hang here. So at 28-1, I thought he was going to be lower than that, maybe closer to 25. So I really like the number there. I'm going to go with a Canadian as well, Mackenzie Hughes. And I think you can start making a conversation that Mac Hughes has had the best season so far out of all the Canucks on tour. In fact, I think he's really making a strong push. Mentioned earlier in the show about Team International. I think Mike Weir right now probably has Mackenzie Hughes penciled in as one of his captain's pick for Montreal at the President's Cup. Finished T13 at the Valspar and followed that up with a T14 at the Houston Open. And although he's from Dundas, Ontario, he loves playing in the Lone Star State. According to Matt Vincenzi, in his past 36 rounds in the state of Texas, he's 5th in the field in strokes gains total. And I know, I'm not too sure if you guys saw on his Instagram, a really close family friend, his former caddy on the Canadian tour, and actually someone who's really influential here in the Ontario golf community, most specifically in my area, in the GTA. Bill Bath passed away this week. An unexpected death. He put out an Instagram post. So we know Mac is going to be playing with a heavy heart, but I think Bill's going to be on his bag this week and battling with him out there in spirit. So I'm going to ride with Mackenzie Hughes on that. Kashmir Keith Mitchell. It's been an unreal season.
My man.
Killer Keith, Kashmir Keith, whatever you want to call him. He's been money this year. 6 top 20.
Great nickname.
Yeah, it's the best. 6 top 10 finishes, only 2 missed cuts in the 12 starts this year. He's a machine off the tee. We know that. 6th in stroke gains off the tee, 30th in driving distance. Both of those are on tour, not just the field. But his irons are actually like on an all-time heater right now. He's 7th in green regulation percentage and 11th in stroke gains approach on tour. He's 1st in strokes gained tee to green in all the tour in his past 24 starts as well. His putter, again, similar to Benny On, is a little bit concerning, but he's also got really good proximity numbers as well. So what I'm trying to say here is he's going to put the ball really close to the hole. He's not going to have to worry about his chipping and his putting. He's going to get it close. He's not going to have to make these really, really tough putts. So that won't be that much of an issue. And at 40-1 in this field, again, I think this is a misprice from the book. So I'm going to take him at 40-1 to win the CJ Cup here. Good Georgia Bulldog as well. The other guy, and maybe it's because we followed him, but I talked about him, Taylor Pendrith. He's starting to turn a corner. And at 80-1, I think I'm going to sprinkle on him. That birdie or better gain number that I was talking with Benny on, he's fourth in this field, 15.4. He had a great outing at the Zurich with Corey Connors. I know it is a team event, but he was stroking the ball really well. He was putting actually really, really well. He was the better putter out of him and Corey Connors. And he had a really strong showing at Punta Cana in the top 10. The way that it's worked for Taylor Pendrith this year, it's like he either misses the cut or he's in contention. That's just the way it's been. But the last two events he's played, he's looking confident. He's looking healthy. He's still mashing the ball off the tee, which will help at this course. So I like him obviously to at this 80-1 number, but I also think I might sprinkle him to finish inside the top 20. And there is an exclusive, Mac Hughes and TP, both top 20 at 1,500. So I really like that number there. I thought that number would be closer to maybe 10-1. So I'm going to sprinkle that. And then my Greggy's Golf Special, Benny On, Alex Noren, Mac Hughes, and Mav McNeely, all to make the cut, plus 215.
I've got a few in on this one. I mean, it's a light, I would say a lighter card than normal. There are two guys that are kind of more near the top that I do like. It's been a while since I've had Tom Kim on my card.
I thought about him.
I was wondering if you were going to go Tom Kim here.
Yeah, he's gone hard in big time in shootouts. The guy can make birdies. And it just feels like it's time for Tom to step up. And I think this is the sort of field that, he could really flex. Coolbet's got a great number on Jaeger as well.
I got Jaeger 33-1 right now.
Yeah,
he's a big time sexy pick this week.
Yeah.
Well, and listen, he's already won recently on tour. He was T11 last year. It seems to be a spot that a guy playing really well in a lesser field maybe could.
He's the only guy who's beat Scotty in like the last 5 events, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That helps when you're looking at this field, I think.
He's the one. And then another guy that has not been playing particularly well, but was really hot earlier in the season that I can't ignore at 66-1, the Gim Reaper. Doug Gim.
Back to the Gim Reaper. Wow.
That's
I
a
love it.
long
I
shot,
like it.
but I think I'm going to focus on Kim and Jaeger and then a long shot of Doug Gim and see if there's a reason to watch the CJ Cup on Sunday afternoon, depending on the performances of those three guys and the Greggy Golf Special, which I religiously support.
Jaeger 33-1. He's one of my guys. I'm going to go Tom Hoagie, who's also at 33-1. So two of these guys at 33-1. TPC, Craig Ranch, he's done extremely well. I think 9 of his last 10 rounds or something are sub 70. 2 top 10s among 7 top 20s so far this year. He's one of those guys that you put in the mix at this type of event because of the list of guys who are here. So Hoagie at 33-1 and Jaeger at 33-1. I do think I like Jaeger's number at 3-1 more. And then I will ride near the top with Siwoo Kim at 18-1. I know we're trying to, talked about staying out of the top there right now, but he has, what's the number I got here? Top 20s in 5 of his last 8 starts, which is pretty good, and runner-up last year at this event. So Siwoo Kim at 18-1, then Hoagie and Jaeger down in that 33-1 range for me this week at the CJ Cup.
All right, what do we...
go ahead. Yeah, what are we looking for a parlay? What do we got? We got to get Jaeger in here for like a top 20 at least.
I'd be okay if we went like Jaeger. Do we want Kashmir Keith in there for a top 20? Benny On in there? Tom Kim? Do we just ride the Koreans here, and go Benny On, Tom Kim, and Siwoo? Or if we want Jaeger in there, we can go Jaeger and 2 of those others, maybe On and Kim.
Yeah, why don't we do that? Jaeger, Kim, and Benny On.
Tom Kim?
Kim, Benny On, and Jaeger, all top 20?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah,
I think that's going to be a pretty
good
decent number.
Should be a good number with all three of
Quickly.
them top 20.
Yeah, quickly, one other thing. Live Singapore also in the mix. Can't forget this. I got a pick for this one. And let's not forget, at one point during this year, I was the hottest live golfer on
That's
the planet.
going back a while now. You're right. Yeah.
People forget this. Sergio loves Sentosa Golf Club. He won the Singapore Open back in 2018. And then actually last year lost in a playoff to Taylor Gooch in this event. And that was actually when Taylor Gooch was one of the hottest players on the planet. So he's got some course familiarity. And even this year, Sergio's been really hot on the Live Tour. He has 2 runner-up finishes that have both ended in a playoff. So he's 25-1 to win Live Golf Singapore. But I also got him at top 5 at plus 350.
What's coming up on Winnipeg Sports Talk, buddy? Postmortem, I guess. Do I need to ask? Sorry.
Yeah, big time postmortem. We'll go over last night's game, the series. Murat Atesh is going to jump on. But we do have AEW wrestling in the city today. We had Jericho on the show yesterday. Don Callis is on the show. And I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Don Callis, but he's basically the modern day Bobby the Brain Heenan. I mean, the funniest. And he's actually from Winnipeg. I recorded this interview earlier. He comes on and has something to say about where he's from. He disparages multiple different neighborhoods in the city. Talks about how great anyways, it is pure comedy. It's exactly what we'll need. And then it'll be good to turn the brain off for a bit and watch some professional wrestling tonight down at Canada Life Center and move on from there. But Jets post-mortem, a little bit more in the Stanley Cup playoffs, AEW stuff, and then welcome to the off season. You guys aren't there yet. Shout out to the Leafs, Patty, and you guys. I know Jake's all fired up, as you should be. And Dusty, I think they get it done tonight. We're on the exclusive plus 170 for the 2 home teams tonight. And get ready for a big one tomorrow night when we get back together in the lock shop. Thanks for having me.
Sorry, one other quick thing, because you brought up wrestling. I know it's not AEW, but Backlash in France this weekend. Odds are up for that right now at Coolbet. So on Friday's show,
Backlash into the Kentucky Derby on Saturday.
I love when you get to look like this from Hustler. He goes, like just a quick hand move. That was exactly what we got there. Excellent, boys. All right, we'll talk to you later. There you go. That's Pat Gregoire. Find him on Twitter, P. Greggy from Coolbet. Obviously, Huss, Winnipeg Sports Talk coming up in about 6 minutes over on Huss's Winnipeg Sports Talk channel. We have the oil stream coming up right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. Myself and Tommy Gazzola getting you ready. If you are looking to get out and watch the game tonight, Tommy Gazzola will be live. I'm going to be popping by as well tonight. Bourbon Street, West Edmonton Mall. At Hudson's. It's going to be a good time for the GCL Diesel pre- and post-game show. Go check out those exclusives. That's what I learned a lesson today. Check out the exclusives before you go and throw in those parlays today. Edmonton Oilers, there's lots of things to like tonight. If this game gets officiated properly, I think the Oilers win comfortably, and we could see some goals tonight here in Game 5. I'm not going to read too much into the 1-0 game in Game 4, especially on that ice. Am I right? Thank you very much for joining us for Lock Shop today. Good luck tonight, and we will talk to you tomorrow.